Welcome back. Well, here we are. This is the close. It's been a fascinating day. Some really interesting people, real movers and shakers we've had today, and some extraordinary insights, I think, into various aspects of travel and tourism, how we'll move forward, how investment will move forward, how hotels will operate in the future. I think the really important question about gender equality, promoting gender equality in the Middle East, very important. But I mean, that's just picking on two or three. Perhaps I can actually talk to the various people here from the ITIC who have returned with us. Taleb, Ibrahim, Paul, and Gerald. Gerald, hello. You,
Hi.
I understand, are in Riyadh.
I'm in sunny Riyadh. Yes, absolutely. So we've had a very interesting 2 days here. It was the conference yesterday, but the main purpose of being here was to join in the celebrations for the opening of the first United Nations World Tourism Organization, the UNWTO, opening of a regional office for the Middle East here in Riyadh, which I think was really a great event and brings home how serious Saudi Arabia is about its tourism development. And I know you've been hearing from the Red Sea and from the investment side of tourism as well today in Saudi Arabia. But it's certainly a truly fascinating journey that they're on. And I'm sure it will make a huge difference to tourism generally in the Middle East and even to tourism worldwide. So congratulations, especially to His Excellency Hafez Al-Khatib, the tourism minister for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and of course to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Fascinating journey to be part of, starting and right back to when they announced the tourism visas on the 27th of September, World Tourism Day, in 2019 now. And, in the first week, they got something like 75,000 applications because there is huge pent-up demand worldwide. Great curiosity, actually, for people to come and see the kingdom. And I think it's going to be very good, not just for the kingdom, but also for tourism to the Middle East, and indeed for the cause of tourism worldwide. I think it was also fascinating to see the gender equality session today, and congratulations to all those ladies. I was very proud of my days in Jumeirah, where at one stage we had more female general managers than we have male, including, of course, my great friend Doris Grief. So thank you for putting it all together, and I'm delighted to be associated and part of the ITIC, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Gerald, it's interesting. You mentioned 2019, and it's only 2 years ago. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? But that was when, yes, you're quite right, Saudi did enter, if you like, into the world market for tourism. And I do wonder, actually, because of COVID partly, and you can see now how much the UAE is almost ahead of the game. It's almost stolen a march in some ways on rivals because it's ready. It's tourism ready right now. And the Saudi similarly. And I wonder how much you think that partly because of the pandemic, that region of the world, this region of the world where you are, is in a very good position right now.
Well, I think it's in a strong position, and I think that the discipline of the people in the area and the residents of the area, and actually applying the various precautions, has been great. Even in a country like the United Arab Emirates, where we've already had over 80% vaccination in terms of the first jab, and at the same time, we've had 46 million tests carried out, which probably accounts for, sometimes people say you have a high infection rate, but if you're going to carry out that many tests in a population of 10 million people, then it's very good. And fortunately, the fatality rate has been very low because the preparedness of the hospitalization, and indeed, there are no politics when it comes to wearing masks in this part of the world. You just do as is recommended and instructed by the authorities. And I must say that works very well. So yes, to that extent, I think it might have not been such a detriment, but I still think we would have been better off without it, and that's for sure.
I mean, there still remains also the red light category that the Middle East divide, I think, well, the UAE certainly has for the UK. And that's a hurdle that has to be got over. quite soon.
Well, that's why I made the point, when you carry out 45 million on tests, then of course you're going to have a higher infection rate. I really think it's sad that we're still on the red list. And, they talk about Dubai, for example, is an airline hub. But, you cannot go through Dubai airport without being tested, like so many other airports, like Riyadh airport. And these tests are carried out in a very good way. And I think there's no justification for keeping the UAE on the red list. Particularly, there are over 150,000 British subjects living here, or living there, because I'm in Riyadh at the moment, and that a lot of these people want to go home for the summer, and a lot of them, 82% have had their first job. So anyway, that's the way it is. But hopefully, it will be reviewed very, very shortly, and that the red light area will actually, sorry, the red list area will be lifted from the UAE. Oops.
So, Paul, what for you were the key takeaways?
Well, in particular, the takeaways from my two sessions as the firstly with the Red Sea Development Project, which is just phenomenal. I mean, who would have imagined that just a few short years ago that this would be on the card? This is actually now happening, having been on the cards. But the enormous investment is going on there. But the concentration and acceptance of the need to move environmentally in a friendly way and make sure that everything that goes on with that project is sustainable is a great tribute to what Saudi Arabia and the Red Sea Development Project is all about. And of course, just now with Darren Dunn, there's his journey to get his business going and the passion which he demonstrates in achieving his objectives with his tour across America, to not only sell his project but also to get investment into it. Hopefully he might do exactly the same once he gets to Europe, and we can admit more people into Europe and the UK. And as Gerald has remarked, there's this business of the red list and the green list, and here in Britain we're saddled with an amber list, which of course only goes to rather complicate and confuse people. But ultimately we will get through this, and we will see a good future for tourism. And of course, the whole effort of putting this project together has been a great tribute to ITIC and the work that's done by our Chief Executive Ibrahim and our incredible backroom team. The timing and the getting it all together is an immense amount of work, and I find that to be a great experience for all concerned. And I think the tourism industry generally and the hospitality industry demonstrating great resilience and great determination to move forward as quickly as possible.
I think it's interesting, Paul, as well, that the people who talked about investment were very actually quite positive about that there is plenty of room for investment, that there is an appetite for new ventures. There's VCS capital, as Darren just mentioned, and when I talked to Dinky about hotels, he was saying yes, very much so, that there is room for new hotel development. So that's all good news, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. And from our own point of view, through Invest Tourism, people are knocking on our door to look for, asking us to involve ourselves in new projects, and existing hotels that want to have new life breathed into them, not only from an investment point of view, but from management as well, and particularly in the Middle East theatre and Africa, of course. That's, these countries are very determined to make their mark, especially in West Africa and so on.
Taleb, for you, what would you say were the key takeaways of today?
First of all, I must say I'm very proud to be part of the team that includes Gerald, Lawless, Paul, and particularly Ibrahim, who have put all this together. Our partnership with ATM has been a great partnership. And I think this is a proof of it. Now, my takeaway are in 3 points. Point number one, I'll follow up from where Gerald left. The importance of tourism is being shown now much more than before. Remember during the ashes of Iceland 4 or 5 years ago, the aviation stopped all over Europe. It stopped all over the world, because Europe was the connection between East and West. And there is the first time that I was still in UNWTO, I felt that the world is becoming to realize the importance of travel and tourism. Well, this situation now is multiplied 10 times, because the stoppage of traveling has alerted people to the importance of our industry. Now, in the Middle East in particular, UAE and Saudi Arabia in particular, have been registering so many successes, simply because their political will and their belief in tourism. I think one of the advantages coming out of this crisis is the rising importance of tourism altogether. I think it's something that we've been striving so hard for a long period of time. The second most important development in this crisis is the rise of domestic and regional tourism. Domestic and regional tourism has not been taken seriously, especially in developing countries. In developing countries, they look only at tourism and statistically. They only calculate tourists that come from abroad, foreigners, blonde people with blue eyes. That's what matters, not their own people. Now, I believe completely it's a matter of principle now. A country that's not enjoyed by its own people cannot and should not be enjoyed by anybody else outside of its country. This is an outcome of the crisis. Third most important outcome also is the rising importance of technology. Now, we have seen, we've all been meeting virtually. Now, as if we're together. I've developed so many virtual friends all over. Of course, I yearn to meet them, hug them, and kiss them. And I'll do that someday, I know, with a mask or without a mask. But I'm going to do that. But this virtual thing has gone beyond just meet. It's also personal. Bocelli, for example, did his concert virtual from Milan. Many, many other public events are being tackled by innovation, by technology. Now, that opens the door for the two most important factors that we should depend on: more innovation, thinking outside of the box. And I was listening to the last presentation from this tour in America. What came up to my mind is how innovative that is, how much thinking outside of the box. This innovative thinking is a key factor here. So we need innovative technology, and we need management, we need different management style. That's very important. Now, this all leads into what kind of tourism we're going to get at the end. We talked about lots of sustainability and investment in this conference. I want to go back to what I said earlier about sustainability. Sustainability is about sustaining life on Earth. It's not about just environment. It's about people. People are more important. We're going to preserve our planet for our people, not for the sake of the planet. So the people and the community connect and relationships are very, very important here. It's important to keep that in mind when we move forward. We're just thinking outside of the box. That's what I want to say at this point in time. There's much more that one can go on and on, but I understand we're running out of time here. Thank you so much, Gerald. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Ibrahim, particularly very much for putting all this together. And thank you, Rajan. We consider you one of us actually by now. Thank you.
I was just going to say, actually, just picking up on the sustainable thing and people, that during the gender conversation, it was very much said that tourism could be a source of empowerment for so many women. It could be the lever that helps a lot of women, particularly, get into management, get into high positions, and also just become independent business owners. I mean, all those factors tourism can do, can't it?
Okay, Rajan, I've spent more than half of my professional career working in tourism. But I don't give a damn about tourism. What I care about is the effects of tourism on people and what it does. That's most important. Women is just an example of that. And the session on women was a marvelous session, fantastic session. because it included so many of the great leaders and ladies that I personally knew. Nikolina Anglikova, Sumaira, Maribel. All of these people are wonderful people. They've proven to be much better than men in many ways. You know, women are better in management than men are. We men of the world have ruled this world for 10,000 years. We don't have much to show, really. Look at the Prime Minister of New Zealand, the Prime Minister of Finland, even Angela Merkel. All the women that have taken leadership position have proven themselves. I completely believe in that. My wife is a much better manager than I am. That's why she's managing our home, our lives, and everything else. So that's very important what you said. You're right.
And maybe a goal for ITIC. And all of these conferences should be 50% representation by women on panels, which I think is...
That's the least.
Yeah.
Should not talk about it. We should take it for granted now. Should not
moving forward in partnership, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, Paul.
I think also in the hotel industry, we have a long way to go because quite a high proportion of students in the hotel schools, almost I think up to 50% is female, but yet less than 20% are general managers. So I think we need to really address this kind of imbalance that is there at the moment.
Absolutely. And to you...
You know, Rajan, 20 years ago when I was still Minister of Tourism in Jordan, there was not a single Jordanian woman that was working in tourism. Nowadays, it's more than 60% of the workforce because we were able to diminish all the taboos by that time. That's very, very important.
Thank you, Taleb. Ibrahim, and certain things stood out for me as well. The word hybrid is now everywhere. It's become a new part of our lexicon, isn't it? It basically applies to the way that hotels are run. It applies to conferencing. It applies to all sorts of stuff, business travel, etc. That stood out for me. But the other thing that came out, and I think it was someone towards the end said, by the very fact that we have conferences like this, actually becomes a reason, a motivator. It's actually making change happen, making the future happen, making us go into the next phase, come out of COVID. The very fact that we can talk about investment and that people are making practical decisions about it now shows that something positive is happening.
Absolutely. So, you're talking about hybrid. I think hybrid is going to become a little bit the future. I mean, like the new normal before travel starts again.
Yes.
I bounce back on what Issam said this morning in the one-to-one interview with you. He said that, we all discuss about this, that nothing is going to replace an in-person conference or meeting. And I was talking with Gerald earlier today. He was telling me about his, exciting moment in Saudi Arabia. And for sure, people are hungry to network, to meet, because our last in-person meeting was in November 2019, actually, when we left in London after WTM, right?
You mean the four of us?
Yes, four of us.
Yes.
Four of us. And then even all our delegates and all our speakers all our plans gone. Nobody would have thought that 2020 would have been as it has been, right? And I believe now what has a WTTC got 600 people in Cancun, that shows if the will is there. Of course, COVID is been with us for 1.5 years almost now, but the will of Gloria to push and WTTC to push to do that live event, hybrid event in Cancun was a great success. To be able to bring 600 people and leaders of a sector flying in a safe manner, in a secured manner, was really extraordinary and phenomenal. And now what ATM has done, and we, ITIC, contributed for our first face-to-face event after 18 months in Dubai, was really phenomenal. Fantastic. And Gerald and Sharihan, you were there. Unfortunately, we are still with travel restriction for all reason. We couldn't be there, but it has been marvelous to have such type of event. And now, like I believe this is going to happen more and more. And it's proven that big events can be done. If you put the security in place, you put the safety nets, you put all the measures in place, it can be done, and we can manage COVID. And I think that here, the resilience of the Middle East needs to be commended. And it's a good example of opening, up of Dubai, which has shown
courage.
Yes, and the courage and the people behind, and the vaccination process that has gone, like Gerald mentioned earlier, has gone successfully. I think you mentioned, Gerald, 80% of the Dubai people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Second one as well.
Yeah, fantastic. But I would say here, let's make no mistake, right? Even though we have gone through all this massive vaccination campaign, and it's very positive, and I hope all the other destinations will follow this example, like Marcus Lee mentioned earlier about China. It's really phenomenal to see that the Chinese positiveness and how the growth that China is experiencing, and yet the borders are not open. But imagine Middle East and China. I mean, when you look about the resilience of the Middle East and the resilience of China, both of them to be connected. And I think I said that last time when we were doing our African summit, 1.3 billion people in Africa, and 1.4 billion in China. And now when you look about the Middle East and connect that three region together, you could imagine that big bubble that could be created, and about investment, about cooperation. I mean, this really, really wonderful. I mean, it's brighter future, I would say. And like Taleb said, sustainability. Sustainability is of course a key factor to invest in sustainability. And I think who was mentioning that? I think Khalid Al-Midfa from Sharjah saying we kept investing in infrastructure, and I think that is a great example, because the whole UAE has been continuously investing in infrastructure, so to prepare for the future and to recover. Once you recover, is going to be easier to rebuild and restart the sector. So having said all of that, but then I think one thing what I still remember what Taleb said last week when we were doing that face-to-face meeting. There must be a consensus among countries. I mean, you need to have like this protocol and to come and work together so that we can restart. I mean, we should set up, a whole ecosystem that uphold the health and safety of tourists, and the tourism sector, but also lay greater emphasis on the growing need to live in harmony with our environment. I mean, like you said, Taleb, through wise investment in sustainable tourism, integrate future disruption caused by climate change or other calamities or any other pandemic. When you look about this variant, that's why I was saying, make no mistake, COVID is still there. I mean, even though we would be able to contain it, we are still in the tunnel, but we can see the light through the tunnel for a brighter future. So that's a little bit what I wanted to say on the key takeaways. Then, if you would allow me to thank and express our heartfelt thank you to all our speakers today. Not only today, but last week. I mean, we had great speakers. Who participated last week in that face-to-face meeting. I mean, we just uploaded some of the videos online. Fantastic, panel we got. And today, they were so passionate, our moderators and speakers, that it could have lasted, we cannot finish the panel because so passionate, so many things, so many best practices, so many good conversation exchanges among the different panelists brought that they could continue for hours, and I would say if you put all that in practice, I mean, this can surely help to rebuild and restart the sector. So definitely, quite a lot of example here. And on the other side, I mean, we are thrilled that we managed to organize a face-to-face summit last week. I mean, it was really extraordinary that we've been able to do that. And I would like to thank again Gerald and Sharian to be on the ground. The ATM team was fantastic, working alongside with us, like Daniel spoke. And I would like also to thank all our back office team. Like I think, Paul, you mentioned, without the back office team, we won't be able to do that. Kostas, Sotiris, and the team, Elisha, Sharian, Izrina, Jovan. I mean, some of them, I don't know if I miss others, who work tirelessly. I mean, we worked throughout the night. Let's say 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock yesterday, 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, to make all that happen. And of course, our directors, Taleb, Gerald, Paul, for your unflinching support, make all this to happen. It's a whole teamwork. Rajan, you've been with us now for quite a long time now. You know ITIC by heart. And last, not least, but I would say what holds the future of ITIC now. We have our future events lining up. Africa Summit with WTM. We have another virtual lining up in a couple of weeks. And then we will have our in-person summit in Cape Town. We have a mandate to bring all the ministers of tourism in September, 1st and 3rd of September. So that's something we are working on. And then we have our November summit in London, our global summit, that we will need to do that in November. But one thing I have to end, Taleb was mentioning about women earlier. Definitely, we have a lot of ministers, women tourism ministers now. And when you look about WTTC being led by women and some of the other organizations, that's really fantastic. Pata, yes, Pata also. Now, right. So I think I will end now. That's what I have to say. Big thank you to all of you for being part of ITIC and to all our delegates being with us today and last week.
And I'll just say finally that having seen the inception of ITIC, I can see it today, just in that short space of time, becoming a major player in the development of tourism. I can see its presence being felt all across the industry. I'm very aware of how it's now being perceived, and that's only testimony to you. So well done to you four, and everybody, to Alicia obviously as well, to all of the, as you say, all the backroom team, everybody who's contributed. And for now, we will all thank you for watching today, for being with us today. But for now, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.